Hey everyone, welcome back. So in the previous session, we just kickstarted things here at the DigitalOcean Tide conference. A lot of people are joining in as we go along. So if you've just logged in, welcome. We just wrapped up the session by our CEO, Yancey Sproul, and now we're getting started with our next session. And I'm excited to be joined by our VP of Product, Apurva Joshi, whom we fondly call AJ. And he's going to be talking about our journey, how we built DigitalOcean and built the scalable platform that's used by millions of developers around the world. And with that, over to you, AJ.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I saw a bunch of you are from different places around the world, so it's really exciting to see everybody coming together across the world to learn and participate with us at this conference. So thank you very much. I wanted to spend some time with the team and all of you to talk about the journey that DigitalOcean took to get to where we are today, starting early in 2011, and how we built the product, multiple products, how we scaled the company. And at the end, I want to share some of the product roadmap, what's coming up in 2020, at the end of 2020, as well as what we are planning to build a little bit in the future. The detailed roadmap for the future will come out sometime end of this year, and we'll be happy to come back again and share the love with you guys. That said, let's move on. Right, if you can go back to the first slide, please. I really want to just make sure that people have access to my Twitter if they want to ask any questions or whatnot. So yeah, that's me. Yes, this is me pre-pandemic. This is me right now at the current pandemic. It's the same guy, I assure you, just with more beard. But if you want to reach out to me, you can follow me or ask me questions on Twitter. My Twitter is Apurva Jo. And yeah, let's get things kicked off real quick. All right. So as you can see, the DO started early in 2011. It was a very small startup with the 4 first founders, with the vision and dream that Yancey briefly spoke about. And the critical piece of that startup or the journey that started or we started was essentially around staying focused on who we serve, right? Back then when we started, the focus was serving to the customers that were essentially placed out of the market while the cloud was introduced, right? Which were the individual devs, the small startups, the SMBs. People like you and me who have a full-time job, but want to run a small project on the side or whatnot, right? So that's where the company started with a very focus on solving the cloud computing and hosting for developers. Obviously, the company grew from 100 to 500,000 plus customers that we have today. And we're really thankful for the same. And as we made the progress, the focus still remained the same, right? I was fortunate to get this screenshot of our homepage that we had back in 2012, 2013, and this is what we have today to your right. If you look at that, it's no surprise, and it's not a coincidence. The focus still remains the same. How exactly the similar the offerings and the value prop looks like, right? And it goes back to the point that we made earlier, is what has made us successful and allowed us to thrive in this market over the 8 to 9 years is by staying focused and serving the customers that we care about the most and helping them build their dreams and businesses, right? Even today, we have expanded our product offering a little bit beyond developers, but it's still the focus still remains to startups and SMBs. And when we talk about SMBs, again, the S that I have, which is 90 phones, is essentially saying where focus is still on the small side of the SMB markets, where people like you and me, wanting to start a small project or a small startups or a small businesses, a team of 2 to 10, 50 to 100, building the dream out, and that is super critical for us to be successful, and that's where the focus is going to be. Again, we there's a saying that I tell to my team on the product side as well as the company, be careful what you measure, because that drives behaviors, and it is one of the biggest reasons behind how we build products that are simple and not trying to overly complicate things. And what I mean by that, the team's not really focused on trying to go after multi-million-dollar deals every month over month, and trying to talk to the enterprises and cater to the needs. Because if you do that, the feature requirements and how you build the product, how you incentivize your people changes, and that drives certain behaviors that ends up creating complexity that will potentially move us away from our core roots, right? So it's really critical for us to stay focused on that specific aspect. And our focus still remains the devs, the SMBs, and the enterprise is not where we go after, because that's where the complexity is. But the funny and interesting behaviors that we see is there are autonomous teams at enterprises. There are individuals who relate to the simplicity of our products, the pricing and the value prop, and they still love to use DigitalOcean for smaller projects within their company, or side projects that they run for hobby and whatnot. Next slide, please. All right, here I want to share a little bit of a journey on how DO started and grew from the perspective. I always get this question every time I talk to customers, and people building startups. How do you know you have a product market fit? And I thought, what could be a better example or a good example than talking about the story of how DO found its product market fit, right? So the company was founded early 2012, 2011. 4 guys trying to build an amazing product, and again, it was a droplet selling at $5. And at some point around early 2013 or late 2012, one of the founders decided to essentially plug in SSD to those droplets. Right back in the days, the SSD was the hottest thing out there. And the idea literally came like when he was sitting on his desk working and had a laptop that had the SSD, and his thinking was, I'm a developer, I'm an individual working on a project, I'm working on a laptop with SSD, why not my customers? And then he went out and literally asked people to buy a bunch of SSD and screw it onto the servers and then sell them at $5 price point. It sounds fascinating, right? It sounds like a fairy tale, but exactly that's what happened. And that kind of thinking is what helps you drive certain innovations and helps you differentiate in the market. So since that happened, and this Techstar article that was written about DO taking on the competitors by providing the SSD disk at $5 price point, it hit the Hacker News, and all of a sudden, you know that you have a product market fit because you're signing up more customers than what you expected. Obviously, for the company to be viable and stay in a business by providing a really expensive SSD, they had to sign up twice X more customers than they were. And once that they found the product market fit, the next thing you know, within a day or two, they were signing up 10X more customers, right? And then you end up having a different problem that you have to solve from a scale perspective, and running around trying to find the capital to add more servers, for data centers to meet your customer needs. But these are good problems to have. And the graph that you see right here is essentially showing is when that article hit the Hacker News a few weeks after having the SSD offering. And then you can see number of droplet creates went through the roof. What you don't see to your right is essentially how fast and bigger it grew. I could not fit that into the slide because that bar just kept on growing up and up and up. Like we have millions and millions of droplets today across the world in 13 data centers in 8 different regions that Yancy talked about, and something we're super proud of, right? So I wanted to play a little clip that I want you guys to hear from the founders on that journey during that time when this incident took place.
We started signing up 2 users a day in March 2012, and 2 years later, we're signing up nearly 1,000 customers a day. DigitalOcean started in New York City in 2011. When we first started the company, we were just 4 co-founders with a big vision, and over the last 18 months, we've been able to grow to a company with over 50 employees.
DigitalOcean is a simple cloud hosting provider built for developers.
Like 1,000 stars.
When you wake up and you look at the numbers and you're like, wow, what the hell just happened last night?
it's an out-of-body experience.
There were points where we were working 24 hours a day just to keep up.
When we entered Techstars, we had 70 customers. Now, today, we have over 150,000 customers.
When we graduated Techstars in August 2012, there were roughly 10,000 virtual servers that were launched. And in January of this year, we launched over 1 million since inception.
We had our first TechCrunch article. We went viral.
They just announced $3.2 million in seed funding led by IA Ventures. Ben Uretsky is the co-founder and CEO of DigitalOcean.
Making the headlines on the New York scene.
Our biggest obstacles were acquiring large lines of credit to fill capacity in the data center and hiring the right people as we scale.
Any task that used to be done manually could no longer be done manually. We've had to scale from about 5 people to close to 50 people in a year. We had to change office space 2 times. We had to spend millions upon millions of dollars on equipment. Our core value, number 1, is love. And when you're able to actually connect that way with someone else, they tell other people. One of the great mentors we had at Techstars, JP O'Brien, gave us a great book that basically said that companies succeed because they're either needed or loved. And we obviously look at our space and know that this is a needed service, but really the companies that stick around are the ones that are loved.
We've met so many amazing mentors and advisors along the way who have helped guide us and point us in the right direction. We're really appreciative and humbled by this tremendous growth. We're expanding globally. We have customers in over 190 countries. I love creating. I love being able to come in every day and create something new.
As a founder, if you don't love what you do, you should probably quit, because there's really no room in today's world for doing anything less than 100%. And the only way to give 100%, regardless of whether times are good or bad, is to actually love it. I know that at the end of the day, that I do love DigitalOcean.
Thank you, Rohan. Yeah, every time I watch this clip, it gives me a goosebump, and I hope, and as some of you out there trying to build your startup and having a dream to build something really successful, are motivated by the story and a journey in a way, right? So it's something, a lot of good lessons to take away from that, and I wish you all good luck. You stay the course, and keep on making the right bets and grow with us. We want to get there on that journey with you together. And some of the takeaways that I want to share over the years from back then till today is at a high level, if I were to wrap them up, it's scaling your business, you'll hit all kinds of challenges, right? And it will come in a different way. It won't be just technology. In our case, around the building out the infrastructure, they'll be around people, they'll be around scaling the culture, hiring the people as fast as possible, right? The issues and their importance will evolve. It's super critical to focus and pick one specific issue, because there'll be fire burning all across the place when you're growing, and these are good problems to have. Pick the right battle. Choose and prioritize the right issue to solve and how you want to scale, whatnot. And at the same time, you have to understand the limit of your technology, your organization, when you're trying to scale, and how to react, right? Obviously, we talk a lot about tech debt, right? If you look at the US example, right before the product market fit, all the information about what droplets being created, how they created, was in a single database, right? And all of a sudden, when you hit this 10x, 20x scale, what kind of issues you're going to hit into, right? And and the point you have to make adjustment and decisions, right? Did the team decide to go and fix and re-architect everything overnight? The answer is no. And they piled on a little bit of tech debt. Did that work out great for us? 100% yes. Here we are talking about the success of Dio, celebrating all of you and all of your success. So pick the right battle, choose the right issues when you scale. And at the same time, maintain the wave of innovations, right? You have to be very careful not to, because you're gonna get busy on trying to fix all kinds of issues while you're trying to scale, but you have to keep an eye on the future. What is next when you're building the next iteration of your product or the new feature or whatnot? You really don't want to miss the innovation wave curve, because if you're too late in the game, last thing you will know, the thing that made you successful is probably not going to be the repeat story for next couple of years or foreseeable future. So keeping an eye on that is super critical as well. Next slide, please. All right. Yeah. So, as you said, we started with the $5 droplet from 12 to 1213. At that time, we hit the scale. The focus was essentially, building out a developer global data center, because the brand was really solid. You heard from Yancy as well. The community piece was super critical. One of the biggest thing that I think DO as a company did well back in the days was to not only just invest in building the platform, but staying focused on the developers and building the community around that, right? They took a lot of effort to write these amazing tutorials, help people get onboarded with those VPS servers, right? And we fast forward 7 to 8 years, that is one of our biggest assets, the community, the people that come to DO. Every customer that I speak with, they come and tell me, I found DO through your tutorials. I love your tutorials, right? This is a great way to learn and get started. And that tells you the focus and the importance of the focus on who you serve has served us really, really amazingly well. And we continue to do that. And that's one of our biggest commitments. I would argue that building a platform is probably difficult, but building a community is even more difficult, right? And if you do both of them very, very well, your companies will be worth tens of billions of dollars, because this is a unique combination that allows us to win the hearts and minds of our customers and stay true to some of the values that Yancy talked about, and love being one of the top priorities, right? From 2016, 2019, we went on a journey saying, great, we built this VPS cloud. We have a droplet, our hero product, working out pretty great. A bunch of things that we need to build around that to solve for customer scenarios and staying focused on devs and what they need. So we started investing in some of the core capabilities on the platform reliability and whatnot over that 3 years period. And starting 2019, early in 2019, we started moving into building some of the Upstack offerings around the managed Kubernetes, managed databases. And again, essentially goes back to the point that I made around maintaining the S-curve of innovation. You have to always look forward in future, learn how your customers are using your product, how the technology is evolving around you, and try and build the experiences that are simple, but at the same time, be very mindful and careful of who you serve, because there's no room for trying to replicate and make everybody happy and build the product portfolio and suite, because that's how you end up with 200 plus different services, like you see with the other cloud providers, and decision making becomes difficult and it's not simple. Next slide, please. So yeah, Yancy shared this slide, and I personally love this slide really, really much, being a product person, you can tell why. But the point that I'm trying to drive here is to the previous point, is how the approach that we took on how we are building a new product sets, right? So all these products that you see and that we move from one single droplet to multiple products, they're not necessarily all of them are products, right, per se, but they are supporting actors to do the core jobs around spinning up droplets or setting up infrastructure much, much easier. Things like floating IP, team accounts, API v2. And then once we had the core pieces around the basic droplet offering, is when we started moving in focus towards serving some of our customers whose needs were unique, like high CPU droplets. Like the reason behind why we built that, not just because the other cloud providers provide the high CPU, it is, again, staying focused to our core customers. Because one of the things that we realized and learned, that being simple does not just mean building a simple product, it's a simple pricing too. And most of you who are DO customers can attest to that, right? And that we don't nickel and dime across bandwidth pricing, for example. It's a great example, right? Across the world, does not matter which region you are in, you pay the same flat bandwidth pricing. And once you have built your product that way and you attracted a specific customer in a focused direction, that drove a very specific workload to our platform, which is around video streaming, video rendering, high bandwidth, right? And that tells you that's a customer segment that you're trying to solve for. And when they try and run these bandwidth-heavy applications, some of the droplets they need are CPU intensive, right? And that's why we need to go and build the high CPU droplets. So that's just one of the examples, right? And as you move to the right, you start seeing, how Kubernetes have won the mind share, has become the new way of managing and orchestrating your VMs, and obviously wanted to stay, maintain that wave of innovation while keeping it simple. You heard from John Giraman before this call, where he talked about how much he loves those 3 simple clicks, and you have the Kubernetes cluster up and running. And I hear this over and over again from our customers, is that it's, the fact they love how simple and vanilla the Kubernetes offering is from DO. It just allows them to be themselves and flexible without an opinionated workflows or opinionated features, or the features that they don't really care about. I mean, that just goes to prove some of our value proposition and our product building exercise that comes through serving, people like us who are developers or starting small projects. Next slide, please. In this slide, I want to briefly touch about the products that we shipped so far in 2020 and what's coming up in the next, the last quarter of 2020. And it's something we're super proud of, right? We did a lot of good things around the app platform. I don't know if you guys or most of you guys are aware of app platform, but it's our first foray into building another layer of abstraction, which is a PaaS kind of an offering, right? We heard from our customers. They love the simplicity of DO, they love the price point, but they would love to run more cloud native applications. They want to have a simple way of hosting their web application in a PaaS platform or run a static sites. We heard the feedback. We went out and released the beta 1 early in the year. Right now, the beta 2 of app platform static sites is out there. It's a private beta. We are inviting customers who are interested. So if you are, just feel free to tag me on Twitter and I'll get you on the list. But we do have a plan to ship app platform and a static site in a GA and make it public to all of you in next coming months. It's coming soon in the Q4. Similarly, we kept on investing in marketplace apps, right? People want to come in and want to have some sort of applications that are pre-run and optimized for droplets, right? That's where the marketplace apps are really, really popular. And we invested into not just spinning out the droplets, but running marketplace apps on the DOKS, our Kubernetes, or database engines as well. Essentially making it really simple for all of us to go out and build applications. We recently added another region in San Francisco. It goes to show our strength on ever expanding the community and the data center footprint. Yancey talked about we're very well funded and we have aspirations to go across and bring these innovations in our product offering across the world, right? And slowly, steadily, we'll expand our footprint in future as well. Finally, we shipped the memory optimized droplets across the remaining 3 data centers that we didn't have the presence, including Bangalore and Toronto, right? So customers in that region are able to spin up those droplets and enjoy the simplicity of the product that we provide. Finally, container registry. Obviously, when you build Kubernetes, a platform, a container-based native PaaS offering, having a registry close to your product or your application is a key piece of that ingredient. It is in an EA right now, and we are planning to go GA sometime November. So very excited about that. And finally, the LBAS, the load balancer, right? We heard loud and clear from some of our startups and SMB customers who are scaling pretty fast on our platform, and that they want to have a managed load balancer that has better performance, more RPS, and ingest that with the Kubernetes offering versus trying to put their own load balancer using Droplet in front of the Kubernetes, right? So those improvements are coming. It will be in early availability sometime December. Very excited about their offering and that allows us to solve some of the challenges and the feedback that we've been hearing from our customers. I want to briefly talk about the app platform roadmap at a high level. What we are planning, or we have in a private beta today, is essentially, ability to point to your code that is in a GitHub, right? So when you come in the experience, you point us to your code that is in GitHub. We identify the language the code is running in. We go and do a remote build for you, deploy the container, provide you the basic metrics alerting, right? And support all kinds of different languages for you to work with. It has a database integration with our managed DBaaS. And the best of it, it has a static site that is for free. This is our first perpetual free offering that's coming out from DO, where you will be able to use the app platform to host up to 3 free static apps, no charge. And it's something that we've been hearing from our customers, and we are super excited about launching that. Obviously, when the platform goes GA in the Q4, it will be more core complete PaaS with all kinds of features that you expect out of the PaaS offering. And we have aspiration to continue shipping new features and updates every single month from that point on out. And then again, looking a little bit ahead, we'll continue to grow onto this platform, just like what we did with Droplet, right? And catch the next wave of innovation. So things like functions as a service, the pipelines, and all those technologies that go hand to hand, are complementary to a PaaS platform, are something that we'll be investing in moving forward as well. With that said, again, I want to thank you all for joining us. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or email me. Happy to answer, and looking forward to learning from you guys. Looking forward to hearing your feedback. Tell me what I should be building, and we'll make it happen. Thank you.